When a poor janitor at a horse race tries to help his millionaire boss, he's humiliated and unfairly fired, sent away with a weak horse. Weeks later, the millionaire realizes he made the worst decision of his life when he sees who shows up to enter the race. In the rolling hills of Kentucky, nestled among sprawling horse farms and picturesque bluegrass meadows, lies the town of Millbrook. At its heart stands Crescent Moon Downs, the most prestigious thoroughbred racing track in the region. To the casual observer, the racetrack is a gleaming monument to equestrian excellence, its white-painted grandstands and manicured grounds a playground for the wealthy and privileged. But beneath the polished veneer of Crescent Moon Downs lies a darker truth. The track's owner, William Big Bill Thornton, has built his empire on a foundation of corruption and cruelty. A self-made millionaire with a penchant for expensive suits and flashy gold rings, Big Bill's word is law in Millbrook. His influence extends far beyond the racetrack, reaching into local politics and law enforcement. The stables at Crescent Moon Downs house some of the finest thoroughbreds in the country, their sleek coats gleaming under the Kentucky sun. But these prized animals are merely pawns in Big Bill's elaborate scheme of illegal betting and performance-enhancing drugs. Behind closed stable doors, veterinarians with questionable ethics administer cocktails of banned substances, ensuring that Big Bill's horses always cross the finish line first in the most lucrative races. As dawn breaks over Millbrook, the town comes alive with the rhythmic sounds of hooves on dirt tracks and the whinnying of horses. The air is thick with the scent of hay and leather, mingling with the aroma of freshly brewed coffee from the local diner. Pickup trucks rumble down Main Street, carrying farmhands and stable workers to their daily grind. In stark contrast to the opulence of Crescent Moon Downs, the outskirts of Millbrook are dotted with modest homes and small farms. Here, hard-working families struggle to make ends meet in a town where the gap between the haves and have-nots grows wider with each passing day. The promise of the American dream feels increasingly out of reach for many as Big Bill's influence casts a long shadow over every aspect of life in Millbrook. It's in this world of stark contrasts, of wealth and poverty, of power and powerlessness, that our story unfolds. A tale of an ordinary man's extraordinary journey set against the backdrop of Kentucky's horse racing culture, where the thunder of hooves on the track echoes the beating hearts of those who dare to dream of a better life. Meet Jack Thompson, a 35-year-old janitor at Crescent Moon Downs. With his weathered hands and kind eyes, Jack is the epitome of small-town America's unsung heroes. Despite the grueling nature of his work and the often demeaning treatment from the racetrack's wealthy patrons, Jack carries himself with quiet dignity. His gentle demeanor and genuine love for horses set him apart in the cutthroat world of thoroughbred racing. Jack lives in a modest farmhouse on the outskirts of Millbrook with his wife Sarah and their 5-year-old daughter Emily. Sarah, a former schoolteacher, gave up her career to care for Emily, who was born with a heart condition requiring constant attention. Their home, while simple, is filled with love and the determination to provide a better future for their daughter. Every morning, Jack rises before dawn, kisses his sleeping family goodbye, and makes the long drive to Crescent Moon Downs in his beat-up pickup truck. As he mops floors and empties trash cans, he often pauses to offer a gentle pat or a kind word to the horses in their stalls. This small act of kindness doesn't go unnoticed by the animals, who seem to perk up at his presence. On the other side of town, in a mansion that overlooks Crescent Moon Downs, lives William Big Bill Thornton. An imposing figure with a booming voice and an ever-present cigar, Big Bill rules his racing empire with an iron fist. His designer suits and luxury cars are a stark contrast to the simple life of his employees. Big Bill's success is built on a web of corruption, from bribing officials to manipulating race outcomes. Yet to the outside world, he's a respected businessman and the driving force behind Kentucky's racing industry. Big Bill's right-hand man is Dr. Marcus Green, the track veterinarian. With his crisp white coat and air of authority, Dr. Green commands respect from stable hands and trainers alike. However, behind closed doors, he's the mastermind behind the complex doping schemes that keep Big Bill's horses at the top of their game. As the sun rises over Crescent Moon Downs, we meet Olivia Hartley, a seasoned jockey with a reputation for fearlessness on the track. Despite her petite frame, Olivia's fierce determination and skill have earned her the respect of even the most skeptical trainers. However, her success comes at a price. She's constantly pressured to maintain an impossibly low weight, and the strain is beginning to show in her hollow cheeks and tired eyes. In stark contrast to the glitz and glamour of race day, we find Tom Sullivan, the stable hand who works tirelessly behind the scenes. With calloused hands and a perpetual layer of dust on his clothes, Tom is the unsung hero of the stables. He knows each horse's quirks and temperaments better than anyone, yet his expertise is often overlooked by the higher-ups. Outside the racetrack's inner circle, we encounter Rachel Chen, the town's only investigative journalist. Fresh out of college and brimming with idealism, Rachel suspects there's more to Crescent Moon Downs than meets the eye. Her relentless pursuit of the truth puts her at odds with Big Bill and his cronies, but she's determined to uncover the dark secrets lurking beneath the surface of Millbrook's prized institution. Lastly, there's Michael O'Brien, a renowned lawyer known for taking on high-profile cases in Louisville. His occasional visits to Crescent Moon Downs for a day at the races are a welcome respite from his demanding career. Little does he know that his path is about to intersect with Jack's in a way that will change both their lives forever. As these characters' lives intertwine against the backdrop of Crescent Moon Downs, tensions simmer and alliances shift. From the opulent owner's box to the dusty stables, each person harbors their own dreams, fears, and secrets. It's a delicate balance of power and vulnerability, where a single misstep could topple the entire house of cards that Big Bill has so carefully constructed. The crisp autumn air crackles with excitement as a sleek black limousine pulls up to Crescent Moon Downs. Out steps Maxwell Sterling, a flamboyant millionaire from California and an old friend of Big Bill Thornton. With a flourish, Sterling announces he's brought 3 prize thoroughbreds to sell, each with a prestigious pedigree that promises victory on the track. Big Bill, his eyes gleaming with anticipation, inspects the horses. The first 2 are magnificent specimens, their coats gleaming and muscles rippling with strength. Without hesitation, he agrees to purchase them, already envisioning the trophies they'll bring to his collection. However, when the 3rd horse is led out, the atmosphere shifts. This animal, once beautiful, now appears gaunt and listless. Its dull coat and sad eyes tell a story of neglect and mistreatment. Big Bill's lip curls in disgust as he dismisses the horse outright, loudly proclaiming it unfit for his stables. As the wealthy men argue, Jack Thompson, who's been quietly cleaning nearby, can't help but approach the rejected horse. With gentle hands and soft words, he strokes its neck, offering comfort to the dejected animal. The horse responds, nuzzling into Jack's touch, a flicker of life returning to its eyes. Noticing this interaction, Sterling's face contorts with fury. How dare this lowly janitor suggest he should keep such an inferior animal? In a moment of cruel inspiration, disguised as mock generosity, Sterling announces loudly, "You like this nag so much? Then it's yours. But you can't work here anymore. Take your new pet and get out." Big Bill, amused by his friend's outburst, immediately fires Jack on the spot. As security escorts a shocked Jack off the premises, the reality of his situation begins to sink in. He's now unemployed, with a family to support and a neglected horse to care for. Jack spends his days in the small paddock behind their house, working tirelessly with the neglected horse he's named Hope. Despite the animal's initial wariness, Jack's patience and gentle touch slowly begin to earn its trust. He speaks softly to Hope as he grooms her matted coat. "We're in this together, girl. We'll show them what you're really made of." Sarah Thompson watches her husband from the kitchen window, her heart heavy with worry. She sees the determination in Jack's eyes, but also the flicker of fear he tries to hide. At night, when Emily is asleep, Sarah and Jack sit at their worn kitchen table, poring over bills and job listings by lamplight. Jack looks up, his face a mix of gratitude and guilt. But what about Emily's treatments? We can't afford daycare, and she needs you. Meanwhile, at Crescent Moon Downs, the absence of Jack's quiet presence is felt more keenly than anyone expected. Tom Sullivan, the stable hand, finds himself picking up the slack, working even longer hours to keep the stables in order. He misses Jack's help. But more than that, he misses the moments of camaraderie they shared over early morning coffee. Olivia Hartley, preparing for an upcoming race, overhears whispers about Jack's dismissal. She feels a pang of regret, remembering how he always had a kind word for her, even on her toughest days. As she mounts her horse for a practice run, she can't shake the feeling that something fundamental has shifted at the track. In his opulent office overlooking the racetrack, Big Bill Thornton barely spares a thought for the janitor he fired. He's too preoccupied with the upcoming derby, where his newly acquired thoroughbreds are set to compete. As he reviews the race strategy with Dr. Green, discussing which horses will receive special treatment, a fleeting image of Jack's disappointed face crosses his mind. He quickly dismisses it, reaching for another cigar. Unbeknownst to Big Bill, Rachel Chen, the young investigative journalist, has caught wind of Jack's unfair dismissal. She sees it as a thread that, if pulled, might unravel the whole tapestry of corruption at Crescent Moon Downs. Late into the night, she pores over financial records and employee statements, determined to expose the truth. As the characters grapple with the ripple effects of that fateful day, the stage is set for a story of resilience, justice, and the unbreakable bond between a man and his horse. Each morning, Sarah kisses Emily goodbye, leaving her in Jack's care. Her heart aches as she walks away from their home, but she steels herself for what lies ahead. The contrast between the opulent mansions where she works and her own modest dwelling is stark, a constant reminder of the divide in Millbrook. In these lavish homes, Sarah encounters a world far removed from her own. She overhears conversations dripping with casual cruelty, where people like her family are discussed as little more than statistics. Despite the sting of their words, she holds her head high, finding strength in the thought of her husband and daughter. Jack, meanwhile, divides his time between caring for Emily and working with Hope. He marvels at the bond forming between his daughter and the horse. Emily, usually reserved due to her health condition, blossoms in Hope's presence. Her giggles echo across the paddock as she watches her father and Hope, her eyes shining with a new light. As Jack works with Hope, he begins to notice something extraordinary. Despite her initial poor condition, the horse shows flashes of incredible speed and agility. There's a fire in her eyes that speaks of a champion's spirit, long suppressed but not extinguished. Jack's expertise, born from years of observing the best thoroughbreds at Crescent Moon Downs, tells him that Hope might be something special. Back at the racetrack, the absence of Jack continues to be felt. Olivia Hartley, pushing herself to the limit in preparation for the upcoming derby, finds herself missing the small kindnesses Jack used to show. An encouraging smile, a bottle of water appearing just when she needed it most. The cutthroat atmosphere of the track seems even harsher without his gentle presence. Tom Sullivan, the overworked stable hand, starts to notice discrepancies in the treatment of certain horses. The whispered conversations between Dr. Green and the trainers, the unmarked packages delivered late at night, it all adds up to something that doesn't sit right with him. He thinks of Jack, wondering if his former colleague had noticed these things too. Rachel Chen's investigation gains momentum. She's pieced together a pattern of suspicious wins, always favoring Big Bill's horses. But she needs more. An insider's perspective, someone who knows the day-to-day operations of Crescent Moon Downs. Her thoughts turn to the recently fired janitor, seeing in Jack a potential key to unlocking the whole story. As these threads begin to intertwine, The stage is set for a confrontation that will shake Millbrook to its core. The upcoming derby looms large on the horizon, promising to be more than just another race. It will be a battleground where the fates of the Thompsons, Crescent Moon Downs, and the truth itself will be decided. As the days grow shorter and the derby approaches, the challenges facing the Thompson family intensify. Sarah's work as a housekeeper becomes increasingly demeaning. In the opulent homes of Millbrook's elite, she endures snide comments and condescending attitudes. Sarah bites her tongue, remembering the reason she's here. Each slight, each backhanded compliment is endured for Jack, Emily, and the dream they're nurturing. One crisp morning, as Jack leads Hope through a practice run, she suddenly rears up, eyes wide with fear. Jack narrowly avoids her flailing hooves, his heart pounding. As he calms the trembling animal, he realizes the enormity of the task before him. It's not just about training a racehorse, it's about healing a wounded spirit. Emily's health adds another layer of stress. Her heart condition requires frequent checkups, each visit to the doctor a stark reminder of their precarious financial situation. The medical bills pile up, a constant shadow over their dreams. Meanwhile, at Crescent Moon Downs, the atmosphere grows increasingly tense as the derby approaches. Big Bill Thornton paces in his office, barking orders into his phone. His newly acquired horses aren't performing as well as expected, and he's feeling the pressure from his investors. Dr. Green nods grimly, knowing exactly what Big Bill means. He heads to the stables, a briefcase of supplements in hand, unaware that Tom Sullivan is watching from the shadows, his suspicions growing by the day. Olivia Hartley feels the weight of expectation crushing down on her. As she pushes herself through punishing workouts and strict diets, she can't shake the feeling that something isn't right. The whispered conversations, the late-night visits to the stables, it all adds up to a picture she's afraid to fully acknowledge. One evening, as she's leaving the track, she spots Rachel Chen lurking near the stables. Their eyes meet, and for a moment, Olivia considers approaching her. But fear of losing her career, of uncovering truths she's not ready to face, holds her back. She hurries to her car, the journalist's questioning gaze burning into her back. Rachel, for her part, is growing frustrated. Her investigation has hit a wall. She needs an insider, someone who can corroborate her suspicions and provide the missing pieces. Her thoughts keep returning to Jack Thompson, the fired janitor. But her attempts to track him down have been fruitless. It's as if the Thompson family has vanished from Millbrook. As the challenges mount, Jack and Sarah find themselves at a crossroads. Their savings are dwindling, and Hope's progress, while promising, may not be enough. One night, after Emily has gone to bed, they have a heart-to-heart at their kitchen table. Jack takes her hand, his eyes filled with a mixture of determination and fear. "I can't explain it, Sarah, but I know Hope is special. If we can just hold on a little longer." As the derby draws nearer, the pressure intensifies on all fronts. Jack's determination to train Hope is met with an unexpected obstacle when their old truck breaks down. Without transportation, getting supplies for Hope becomes a Herculean task. Jack finds himself walking miles to the nearest feed store, hauling heavy bags of oats and hay on his back, his muscles screaming in protest. One evening, exhausted and sore, Jack collapses on the porch steps. Sarah joins him, worry etched on her face. "Jack, this can't go on. You're running yourself into the ground." Sarah's heart aches, torn between admiration for her husband's perseverance and fear for their future. She knows they're walking a tightrope, and one misstep could send them plummeting into financial ruin. Tom Sullivan, the stable hand, can no longer ignore his conscience. One night, he decides to gather evidence of the illegal practices. As he's sneaking around the stables with his phone, taking pictures of labeled syringes and unmarked packages, he hears footsteps approaching. In a panic, he ducks into an empty stall, his heart pounding. Dr. Green's voice drifts through the air, accompanied by Big Bill's gruff tones. "If anyone gets suspicious, we'll pin it all on that fired janitor." What was his name? Thompson? He'll make a perfect scapegoat. Meanwhile, Olivia Hartley's inner turmoil reaches a breaking point. After a particularly grueling training session, she overhears her trainer discussing her with Big Bill. "Push her harder," Big Bill demands. "I don't care if she breaks. We need this win." Rachel, frustrated by her lack of progress, is about to call it a night when her phone rings. The conversation with Olivia is brief, but it's enough to reignite her investigation. Armed with new leads, Rachel dives back into her research, determined to expose the truth before the derby. As the challenges mount, an unexpected ally emerges for the Thompsons. Michael O'Brien, the renowned lawyer, happens to be driving by their property when he spots Jack working with Hope. Intrigued by the sight of the magnificent horse in such humble surroundings, he pulls over. "You know," Michael says thoughtfully, "there might be a way for you to enter Hope in the derby after all. It's a long shot, but if you're willing to take a chance..." But even as this glimmer of hope appears, dark clouds gather on the horizon. Big Bill, paranoid about potential leaks, hires private investigators to track down anyone who might threaten his empire. As the net tightens around Millbrook, the stage is set for a showdown that will determine not just the fate of a horse race, but the future of everyone involved. With Michael O'Brien's unexpected support, Jack and Sarah find themselves reinvigorated. The lawyer's plan is audacious. He'll enter Hope in the derby under his own name, bypassing Big Bill's influence. It's a risky move, but it's their only shot at redemption. Jack throws himself into training with renewed vigor. Dawn finds him in the paddock, guiding Hope through increasingly complex routines. The bond between man and horse grows stronger each day, as does Hope's confidence. Sarah watches from the porch, Emily on her hip, a mixture of pride and anxiety etched on her face. At Crescent Moon Downs, Olivia Hartley's decision to reach out to Rachel Chen sets off a chain reaction. Rachel, armed with insider information, begins to piece together the extent of Big Bill's corrupt empire. She works tirelessly, cross-referencing race results with veterinary records, tracking suspicious money transfers, and compiling testimonies from anonymous sources. Tom Sullivan, emboldened by the knowledge that others are fighting back, starts subtly sabotaging Dr. Green's doping efforts. He misplaces syringes, dilutes performance-enhancing cocktails, and creates distractions during critical administrations. It's a dangerous game, but Tom's conscience won't let him stand idly by any longer. Big Bill, sensing the walls closing in, becomes increasingly paranoid and volatile. He doubles security at the track, institutes surprise drug tests for all employees, tests that his horses conveniently pass, and puts pressure on local law enforcement to quash any potential investigations. In a fit of rage after one of his prized horses underperforms in a pre-derby race, Big Bill lashes out at Dr. Green. "If you can't get results, I'll find someone who can," he roars, spittle flying from his lips. Dr. Green, shaken but desperate to keep his position, vows to take even more extreme measures to ensure victory. Meanwhile, Michael O'Brien works his legal magic. He files the necessary paperwork to enter Hope in the derby, carefully constructing a paper trail that can withstand scrutiny. He also begins quietly reaching out to his contacts in the Racing Commission, laying the groundwork for potential challenges to Big Bill's authority. As the day of the derby approaches, tension in Millbrook reaches a fever pitch. Rumors swirl about a dark horse entry, a mysterious newcomer that could upset the carefully orchestrated race. Big Bill, upon hearing these whispers, becomes obsessed with identifying and eliminating this threat. In the Thompson household, excitement mingles with fear. Jack spends every waking moment with Hope, fine-tuning their connection and preparing for the biggest race of their lives. Sarah, determined to contribute, takes on extra shifts, ignoring the increasingly cruel jabs from her wealthy employers. One evening, as Jack and Sarah sit on their porch, watching Hope graze in the twilight, Sarah turns to her husband. "Whatever happens," she says softly, squeezing his hand, "we're in this together, all the way." As the derby draws near, the atmosphere in Millbrook crackles with tension. Rachel Chen, working tirelessly to build her case against Big Bill, receives an unexpected breakthrough. A USB drive, anonymously left in her mailbox, contains a treasure trove of incriminating financial records. She recognizes Tom Sullivan's handwriting on the accompanying note, which simply reads, "Use this wisely." Rachel spends sleepless nights poring over the data, connecting dots and building an ironclad case. She reaches out to a trusted contact at the FBI, knowing that the scope of Big Bill's corruption extends far beyond local jurisdiction. Meanwhile, Olivia Hartley grapples with her conscience. The weight of her knowledge and the fear of repercussions wage a constant battle in her mind. After a particularly grueling training session where she witnesses Dr. Green administering a cocktail of drugs to her mount, she makes a life-altering decision. In the pre-dawn hours, she sneaks into the stables and collects samples of the substances, carefully documenting everything she sees. With shaking hands, she places an anonymous call to the Racing Commission, reporting the doping violations. It's a small act of rebellion, but it sets in motion a series of events that will rock Crescent Moon Downs to its core. "You know," Michael says thoughtfully, "having Emily at the race might be just the edge we need. It'll remind everyone what's really at stake here." In the final days before the Derby, Big Bill's paranoia reaches new heights. He orders around-the-clock surveillance on the stables and hires additional security for the event. Dr. Green, feeling the pressure, pushes the doping regimen to dangerous levels, ignoring the visible distress in the horses. Tom Sullivan, witnessing this escalation, realizes he needs to take more drastic action. Late one night, he manages to switch out a batch of Dr. Green's performance enhancers with harmless saline solution. It's a risky move, but Tom knows it might be their last chance to level the playing field. On the eve of the Derby, Jack takes hope for one final training run. As they thunder across the field, bathed in the golden light of sunset, Jack feels a profound connection with the horse. He leans in close, whispering words of encouragement and trust. Hope responds with a burst of speed that takes Jack's breath away, and in that moment, he knows they're ready to face whatever challenges lie ahead. Back at the house, Sarah helps Emily try on her Derby Day outfit, a pretty dress that was once Sarah's, carefully altered to fit the little girl. As she braids Emily's hair, Sarah finds herself blinking back tears, overwhelmed by the magnitude of what they're about to undertake. That night, as Millbrook buzzes with pre-Derby excitement, each player in this unfolding drama prepares for the day that will change everything. Hope stands quietly in her makeshift stable, as if sensing the importance of what's to come. And in homes and hotel rooms across town, restless minds struggle to find sleep, all acutely aware that by this time tomorrow, nothing will be the same. Derby Day dawns bright and clear over Millbrook, the air thick with anticipation. Crescent Moon Downs is a hive of activity, with stable hands, jockeys and officials scurrying about in last-minute preparations. The grandstands slowly fill with spectators, a sea of elaborate hats and designer suits. Jack Thompson stands at the entrance to the track, Hope's reins in one hand, his other arm around Sarah's shoulders. Emily, wide-eyed with excitement, clutches her mother's hand. The family looks out of place among the glittering crowd, but there's a quiet determination in their stance that draws curious glances. "Remember," Michael O'Brien says, approaching the family, "no matter what happens in there, you've already won by making it this far." He nods encouragingly before heading off to handle the final paperwork. "You!" he bellows, storming over. "What the hell do you think you're doing here?" As security guards approach, Michael O'Brien smoothly interposes himself between Jack and Big Bill. "I'm afraid that won't be possible, Mr. Thornton," he says calmly, producing a sheaf of papers. "Hope is legally entered in this race under my sponsorship. Any attempt to remove them would be a violation of racing regulations." Big Bill sputters incoherently, but even he knows better than to make a scene in front of his high society friends. With a final murderous glare at Jack, he storms off, already barking orders into his phone. "What do you mean the doses aren't working?" Big Bill's voice hisses. "Fix it now. I don't care what you have to do. Those horses better perform, or it's both our necks." As the minutes tick down to post time, Rachel Chen slips into the press box, her notepad clutched tightly. She's arranged for a colleague to live stream the race, ensuring that whatever happens today will be broadcast to the world, unfiltered. "You can do this, girl," he whispers, patting her neck. "Show them what you're made of." Sarah squeezes her daughter's hand, her eyes fixed on the small figure of her husband standing by the rail. Everything they've worked for, everything they've sacrificed, has led to this moment. In that breathless moment before the race begins, as thousands hold their collective breath, the fate of dreams, fortunes, and lives hangs in the balance. The gun fires, the gates fly open, and in a thunder of hooves, the Kentucky Derby begins. The roar of the crowd is deafening as the horses burst from the gates. Hope, to everyone's surprise, surges forward, keeping pace with the leaders. Jack's heart leaps into his throat as he watches the pack round the first turn, Hope's golden coat gleaming in the sunlight. Big Bill Thornton's face grows increasingly red as he watches the race unfold. His top horse, Thunderbolt, is running erratically, falling behind the pack. "What's wrong with him?" he bellows at Dr. Green, who stands pale and sweating beside him. Down on the track, Olivia Hartley, riding one of Big Bill's other horses, feels something is terribly wrong. Her mount is sluggish, not responding to her commands. As they round the back stretch, she sees Thunderbolt suddenly veer off course, nearly colliding with another horse. Tom Sullivan, watching from near the stables, sees Thunderbolt's erratic behavior and knows his switch of the performance enhancers has worked, perhaps too well. He silently prays that no horses or jockeys will be hurt as a result of his actions. As the horses thunder down the home stretch, Hope is neck and neck with the favorite, a sleek black stallion named Midnight Runner. The young jockey, feeling the power surging beneath him, gives Hope her head. The mare responds with a burst of speed that sends a gasp through the crowd. In the press box, Rachel Chen is furiously taking notes, her eyes darting between the track and Big Bill's increasingly agitated form in the owner's box. She can sense a story breaking, one bigger than she had ever imagined. The final furlongs are a blur of pounding hooves and screaming spectators. Hope and Midnight Runner are matched stride for stride. Jack can barely breathe, his hands gripping the rail so tightly his knuckles turn white. For a moment, time seems to stand still. Jack stares at the board in disbelief as Hope's number flashes as the winner. Sarah and Emily are jumping up and down, tears streaming down their faces. Even Michael O'Brien looks shocked, a broad grin spreading across his usually serious face. "Fraud!" he bellows, his voice carrying across the suddenly hushed crowd. "That horse is a fraud! I demand an investigation!" Meanwhile, near the stables, chaos has broken out. Thunderbolt, Big Bill's prized horse, has collapsed, drawing a crowd of concerned officials and veterinarians. Dr. Green is nowhere to be seen. As reporters swarm around the track, cameras flashing and questions flying, the scene at Crescent Moon Downs descends into pandemonium. Jack finds himself at the center of a storm, Hope's reins in one hand, his family huddled close with the other, facing down Big Bill's rage and an uncertain future. As the chaos at Crescent Moon Downs reaches a fever pitch, Michael O'Brien's commanding voice cuts through the din. "Ladies and gentlemen," he announces, his tone brooking no argument, "I suggest we all calm down and handle this situation in a civilized manner." Michael remains unflappable. "I assure you, Mr. Thornton, everything about Hope's entry and victory is completely legal. However," he pauses, his gaze sweeping the crowd, "I believe there are other matters that require immediate attention." A hush falls over the racetrack. Big Bill's face drains of color as he realizes the gravity of the situation. Dr. Green, who had been trying to slip away unnoticed, is quickly apprehended by two agents. The lead FBI agent nods grimly. We've been investigating a large-scale operation involving illegal gambling, race fixing, and animal abuse centered around Crescent Moon Downs. Today's events have brought things to a head. As Big Bill splutters denials, Olivia Hartley steps forward, her voice shaking but determined. "I can confirm this," she says. "I've witnessed illegal doping practices and have evidence to support it." She produces a small vial from her pocket, handing it to one of the agents. Tom Sullivan joins her, his face set with resolve. "I've been documenting the illegal activities here for months," he adds, pulling out a flash drive. "Everything's here: financial records, doping schedules, bribes to officials." In the midst of the commotion, Jack Thompson stands protectively near Hope, his family close by. He catches Michael's eye, confusion evident on his face. The lawyer makes his way over to them. As the FBI begins to cordon off areas of the track and question key individuals, a new figure pushes through the crowd. A distinguished-looking man in a suit, flanked by racing officials. He turns to Jack and his family. "Mr. Thompson, your horse's victory today stands. However, I must inform you that there will be extensive testing and verification before any prize money can be awarded." Jack squeezes her hand. "I'm not sure," he admits, "but whatever happens, we did this the right way. We proved that Hope is a champion, fair and square." Her innocent question catches the attention of those nearby, including Rachel Chen, who quickly jots it down in her notebook. The poignancy of a child's perspective cuts through the complexity of the adult world, reminding everyone of the real victims in this scandal. As the gravity of the situation settles over Crescent Moon Downs, it becomes clear that this day will go down in racing history, not just for Hope's against-all-odds victory, but for the exposure of a corrupt system that has plagued the sport for years. Our investigation has uncovered a network of corruption that extends far beyond Crescent Moon Downs, she announces, her voice carrying across the now silent racetrack. "We're looking at a multi-state operation involving several prominent figures in the racing world, illegal gambling syndicates, and even some government officials." The revelation sends another ripple of shock through the assembled crowd. Rachel Chen, furiously scribbling notes, calls out, "Agent Lawson, how long has this investigation been ongoing?" As she speaks, more FBI agents emerge from the stables, carrying boxes of documents and computer equipment. Dr. Green, now in handcuffs, is led past the crowd. His eyes meet Olivia's for a moment, a mix of defeat and something that might be regret passing between them. "There's something you need to know," he says quietly. "The FBI has been tracing Hope's lineage. It appears she may be the offspring of Silverstreak, a champion horse that disappeared under mysterious circumstances 5 years ago." As this revelation sinks in, a commotion breaks out near the owner's box. Big Bill Thornton, seeing the writing on the wall, has attempted to flee. He's quickly apprehended by FBI agents, his protests drowned out by the murmurs of the crowd. Olivia nods, tears in her eyes. It's been a long time coming, but what happens to the horses now, and the honest workers here? As discussions about the future of Crescent Moon Downs and the broader implications for the racing industry begin, Jack and Sarah find themselves at the center of a media storm. Reporters clamor for their story, the underdogs who unwittingly exposed a massive scandal. Emily, overwhelmed by the noise and confusion, buries her face in Sarah's skirt. Jack kneels down to her level. "It's okay, sweetheart," he says gently. "Remember how we always said that doing the right thing matters most? Well, that's what's happening here. A lot of people did the wrong thing for a long time, and now it's being fixed." Rachel Chen, overhearing this, asks if she can quote Jack. He nods, realizing that their simple story of perseverance and integrity might be the beacon of hope needed in this dark moment for the racing world. Jack and Sarah stand with Hope, who seems unaware of the turmoil she's helped unleash. Michael approaches them, a tired smile on his face. "You know," he says, "when I offered to help you enter this race, I never imagined it would lead to all this. You and Hope, you've changed the face of horse racing forever. As the setting sun casts long shadows across the track, the Thompson family prepares to take Hope home. They know that the coming days and weeks will bring more challenges, investigations, testimonies, and media scrutiny. But as they walk away from the track, Hope's reins in Jack's hand, and Emily riding proudly on her back, there's a sense of hope and renewal in the air. The story of the janitor, his family, and their miraculous horse has only just begun, but already it's become a symbol of integrity triumphing over corruption, of underdogs overcoming impossible odds, and of the enduring power of faith and perseverance. In the days following the dramatic events at Crescent Moon Downs, Millbrook finds itself at the center of a national media storm. The Thompson family, thrust into the spotlight, grapples with their newfound fame and the weight of their accidental role in exposing the scandal. Jack and Sarah, overwhelmed by interview requests and offers for book deals, find solace in the quiet moments with Hope. As they brush her coat in the early morning light, Jack muses, "You know, girl, you didn't just win a race. You helped clean up the whole sport." The legal aftermath unfolds swiftly. Big Bill Thornton and Dr. Green, along with several other high-ranking officials, are indicted on multiple charges including fraud, animal cruelty, and racketeering. The racing world watches in shock as more dominoes fall, with investigations spreading to other tracks across the country. Michael O'Brien, now a central figure in the case, works tirelessly to ensure that the Thompsons' interests are protected. He successfully argues for Hope's victory to stand, securing the prize money that will change the family's life forever. Meanwhile, Olivia Hartley and Tom Sullivan find themselves hailed as whistleblowers. Their testimony proves crucial in building the case against the corrupt elements at Crescent Moon Downs. Though the path ahead is uncertain, both feel a sense of relief at finally speaking the truth. Rachel Chen's in-depth exposé on the scandal becomes front-page news across the nation. Her article not only details the corruption, but also tells the heartwarming story of the Thompson family and Hope, capturing the public's imagination. As the dust begins to settle, the Racing Commission, led by Harold Whitmore, announces sweeping reforms. "We're committed to rebuilding trust in this sport," Whitmore declares at a press conference. "The era of looking the other way is over. We owe it to the animals, the honest competitors, and the fans to ensure fair and ethical racing." As the legal proceedings continue, the Thompsons find themselves navigating a new reality. The prize money from Hope's victory, combined with offers for their story rights, provides financial security they never dreamed possible. Jack and Sarah make the decision to purchase a small farm on the outskirts of Millbrook, ensuring Hope and Emily have plenty of space to roam and play. The family's newfound stability allows them to focus on Emily's health. With access to better medical care, her condition shows marked improvement, bringing joy and relief to her parents. Emily's laughter, once a rare sound, now fills their new home regularly. Crescent Moon Downs, now under new management, undergoes a complete overhaul. Tom Sullivan, recognized for his integrity and deep knowledge of horse care, is offered a position as head stable manager. He accepts, determined to create a nurturing environment for the horses and staff alike. Olivia Hartley, after much soul-searching, decides to step away from professional racing. Instead, she channels her passion and expertise into establishing a rehabilitation center for retired and rescued racehorses. The center, partly funded by donations that poured in after the scandal broke, becomes a beacon of hope for animals that might otherwise have been discarded. Michael O'Brien, inspired by the Thompson story, shifts the focus of his legal practice. He begins specializing in cases involving animal welfare and sports integrity, becoming a respected advocate for reform in the racing industry. As for Hope, her true lineage is confirmed through DNA testing, linking her to the legendary Silver Streak. This discovery not only adds to her value as a potential broodmare, but also helps solve the long-standing mystery of Silverstreak's disappearance, leading to further indictments in the racing world. The ripple effects of Hope's victory and the subsequent exposé continue to be felt across the country. Other sports and industries begin to examine their own practices more closely, leading to a broader conversation about integrity and animal welfare in entertainment and competition. As the dust settles on the scandal that rocked the racing world, the emotional impact of the events reverberates through the lives of all involved. For the Thompson family, the journey from struggling janitor to accidental heroes brings a whirlwind of emotions. Jack, standing in the pasture of their new farm, watches Hope gallop freely with tears in his eyes. The sight of her running not for competition but for pure joy strikes a chord deep within him. He reflects on the long nights of doubt, the moments of despair, and the unwavering faith that brought them to this point. Sarah, meanwhile, finds herself overwhelmed by the security and peace their new life brings. The constant worry that had been her companion for so long begins to fade, replaced by a profound sense of gratitude. She watches Emily playing in the yard, her laughter carrying on the breeze, and feels a surge of hope for her daughter's future. One evening, as the family sits on their new porch, Emily snuggled between her parents, she asks a question that catches them off guard. "Daddy, are we rich now?" For Olivia Hartley, the emotional journey is one of redemption. As she works with the rescued horses at her rehabilitation center, she feels a weight lifting from her shoulders. Each animal she helps becomes a step towards making amends for the years she spent unwittingly participating in a corrupt system. One day, as she watches a formerly abused horse take its first confident steps in the paddock, she feels a sense of purpose wash over her. This, she thinks, this is what racing should have been about all along. One afternoon, as he's showing a group of wide-eyed children around the stables as part of a new community outreach program, he catches sight of himself in a mirror. The man looking back at him stands taller, prouder, unburdened by the weight of secrets. He realizes that in saving the horses, he's also saved a part of himself. Rachel Chen, despite her professional success, finds herself grappling with the enormity of the story she helped uncover. The late nights spent poring over documents and conducting interviews have taken their toll, but the impact of her work fuels her forward. During a quiet moment in her office, she comes across a letter from a young, aspiring journalist. The letter thanks her for showing that one person with determination can make a difference. Rachel feels a lump in her throat, understanding that her work has inspired a new generation to seek truth and justice. Michael O'Brien, known for his cool legal demeanor, finds himself unexpectedly moved by the outcomes of the case. In a rare moment of vulnerability, he confides in Jack. "You know, in all my years of practicing law, I've never felt quite like this. It's as if we've all been part of something bigger than ourselves." The emotional ripples extend beyond the immediate players. Horse racing fans across the country experience a mix of disillusionment and hope. Many express their feelings in letters sent to the Thompsons, sharing how the family's story has rekindled their faith in the sport and in the triumph of integrity. Even those indicted in the scandal face their own emotional reckonings. Dr. Green, awaiting trial, reaches out to Olivia with a letter of apology. His words, while unable to undo the past, reveal the heavy burden of guilt and the complex emotions behind his actions. As the story of Hope and the Thompsons becomes legend in Millbrook and beyond, it serves as a powerful reminder of the emotional connections between humans and animals. Children ask for hope, plush toys for Christmas, families make pilgrimages to see the famous horse, and animal welfare organizations report a surge in support and adoptions. In quiet moments, when the media frenzy dies down and the family is alone, Jack and Sarah often find themselves marveling at the journey they've been on. The emotional scars of their struggles remain, but they're softened by the joy of their new life and the knowledge that their story has touched so many. As Hope grazes peacefully in her paddock, a symbol of perseverance and integrity, the Thompsons realize that their greatest wealth lies not in their bank account, but in the hope they've given to others and the change they've inspired in the world. As the seasons change in Millbrook, the story of Hope and the Thompsons settles into local lore, a modern-day fairy tale of perseverance and justice. The once struggling family has found their place, not just in their community, but in the hearts of people across the nation. "Who would have thought," she muses, "that a janitor, a little girl, and a rescued horse could change so much?" As if understanding their conversation, Hope trots over, nuzzling Jack's shoulder. The family stands together, bathed in the warm glow of the rising sun, a living testament to the power of hope, integrity, and the unbreakable bond between humans and animals. In the months following the Kentucky Derby scandal, the world of horse racing undergoes a dramatic transformation. The Thompson family's story becomes a catalyst for widespread reform in the industry. 1. The implementation of stricter drug testing protocols and animal welfare standards across all major racetracks in the country. 2. The establishment of a national oversight committee to ensure fair practices and ethical treatment of horses. 3. A surge in public interest in horse rescue and rehabilitation inspired by Hope's story. 4. The conviction of Big Bill Thornton and his associates, serving as a deterrent to future corruption in the sport. 5. The Thompson family using their platform to advocate for animal rights and ethical sports practices. 6. Crescent Moon Downs, under new management, becoming a model for ethical horse racing and community engagement. 7. Olivia Hartley's Rehabilitation Center expanding, with similar facilities opening across the country. 8. Michael O'Brien's spearheading legal initiatives to protect whistleblowers in the sports industry. 9. Rachel Chen's continued investigative work, uncovering and preventing similar scandals in other sports. 10. The Racing Commission, led by Harold Whitmore, implementing educational programs for owners, trainers, and jockeys on ethical practices and animal care. As these changes take root, the horse racing industry begins to regain public trust. The story of Hope and the Thompsons becomes a touchstone, reminding everyone of the power of integrity and the importance of treating animals with respect and care. 5 years later, Hope's legacy farm stands as a beacon of ethical horse care and training. Jack and Sarah Thompson, now respected figures in the equestrian world, host workshops on animal welfare and integrity in sports. Hope, now retired from racing, spends her days mentoring young foals and bringing joy to visitors. Her story continues to inspire, a living reminder that with courage, compassion, and integrity, even the longest odds can be overcome. Dear viewers, Hope's story reminds us that we all have the power to make a difference, whether it's speaking up against injustice, supporting ethical practices in sports and entertainment, or simply showing kindness to animals in our daily lives. Every action counts. Remember, it's not about being a hero, it's about doing what's right, one small act at a time. Together we can create a world where every animal is treated with the respect and care they deserve.